Today I'm going to be watching more from the Australian comedian Shaun Micallef, and this is from a TV show of his that I don't think I've seen anything from before. It's called Mad as Hell. So tell me if you've seen that one before, tell me if there's any memorable sketches from it that I should watch. This one is recommended by one of my viewers. It's called Tony Abbott's NBN. Now, I believe that Tony Abbott was the old Prime Minister of Australia, and I googled NBN and it looks like that's actually the state-funded or state-created broadband service or internet service for Australia. Tell me if that's correct, tell me more about that, and yeah, let's just see what Shaun Micallef has got to say about it.
The Coalition launched its National Broadband Network proposal this week, and yes, compared to the government's NBN, it's a far inferior service. But the good news is that you will get that inferior service sooner. And it's cheaper. So sooner, cheaper, and politicians always speak in threes, don't they? Help me out, somebody.
Sooner, cheaper and more affordably.
Cheaper and more affordably. Hopefully they can get it to cost less as well. So less expensive but not as good. It's Bjorn again to Labor's Abbott. It's a tribute broadband network. Now, the major difference between the two networks is that Labor runs fibre to your home, allowing broadband speeds of about 100 megabits a second, whereas the Coalition runs fibre to a node at the end of your street and then reduces the whole thing down to 25 megabits, where it hooks up to the copper wire that runs to your house. This is Malcolm Turnbull's baby, and Tony Abbott, to his credit, has been very generous to the man whose job he took, the man who had hoped one day to be known as Prime Minister.
I'm confident that in the years to come, Malcolm is going to be Mr. Broadband.
It's got a great ring to it, hasn't it? Mr. Broadband. It's right up there with Mr. Antenna. Not that Tony Abbott doesn't know a thing or two about technology himself, as he ably demonstrated before a spellbound audience.
That's a computer-generated representation of Sunnyville, isn't it?
Well spotted. Well spotted indeed. A lot of people would have thought the real Sunnyville had magically appeared in front of them, perhaps being down from a spaceship hovering over Fox Studios. And incidentally, very good of the owners of Fox Studios to let the Coalition launch their broadband policy there and give them access to the sort of technology that won't be possible in their homes as a result. But this week's not all about speed in the cyber world. It's about speed in the real world too. Since the arrival of the First Fleet, we have dreamed of a high-velocity rail system linking the great cities of our east coast and Brisbane. As with the national broadband rollout, the Libs and the Labs have competing ideas. Labor says a 300 km/h link from Melbourne to Canberra to Sydney to Brisbane will cost $114 billion. The Coalition say they can do it for $22 billion, but the tracks will run only to a small box in a paddock 30 kilometres south of each of the cities called a node, from which all the passengers will be required to transfer to a shuttle and then travel the rest of the way at speeds of up to 5 km/h.
Yeah, very good, man. Actually, that makes me want to see that Mad as Hell. So, of course, I watched the Shaun Micallef programme before, more of a sketch show. This seems like very cutting political satire. I like this sort of thing when it looks at real things that are happening that politicians are doing and just destroys them through sarcasm and their own kind of stupidity and ideas. That little analogy there with the train system, another real problem in Australia, but how it relates to that broadband as well with those nodes, or that having to travel the distance from the node until the town. Very, very clever, man. And again, as always, Shaun Micallef, the way he presents it, he's the perfect presenter for this type of political satire. And yeah, tell me more about NBN. Is it as bad as that? I've watched another video recently about Australian internet, showing how it's lacking. But tell me what you think about this one and Tony Abbott, NBN, and recommend more from this show, Mad as Hell. I'd love to see more from it. Thanks.